Hello and welcome guys, welcome back to another stream. And today we are going to do something very new. Okay, we are going to do something very unfamiliar, unknown. And what we are going to do is that we are going to look into the code base, into others code base on GitHub, and fairly large or huge code base that we have never familiarized us to. We already do have one concurrent viewer. So whoever he is or whoever she is, hi, hello, bye. Why do we have one concurrent viewer at the start? Anyways, okay. So we will try and go peek into the others code base and we will see that what changes we can make. Okay. I have never did this. I have never done this, to be honest. Okay. And because I'm afraid of reading and understanding other code base. So we are going to try and solve that problem of ours today only, because I have come across a video where the guy says that most of the fear that most of the time when you get scared from a code base, like most of the time you are not able to understand the code base is only because it's your fear. It's not that you cannot understand it, it's just that the code itself, the file structure itself is going to take some time in order to, in order for you to comprehend that. It's going to take some time. Okay, and it's usually not that complex if you know the basics, if you have understood and walked yourself through any basic project or anything like that. It's going to be similar to that only. Okay, so like for example, if you have written any C++ project in past, okay, so you already do understand that everything that starts in a C++ program is, or every execution that starts from a C++ program, or the main execution of the C++ program or project starts from a main function. Okay, so similar to that, in JavaScript you may have an entry point depending on various frameworks. Okay, in case of Next.js, your entry point of the program will be the page.tsx in the root folder, or root folder in the app directory, either the root folder in the app directory or the root folder in the source project source directory. Okay. So um we are going to start. I mean, wait a minute, I need to receive a call. हाँ तो भाई लोग, let's get back to it. ठीक है, Today I'm going to understand and review the code. Sorry, not review the code, but I'm going to understand the code for the chat application in Next.js made by Josh Tried Coding. Okay, made by Josh from Josh Tried Coding channel. Okay, I'm not going to open his channel link because I don't want to have any copyright. So I'm going to directly go, or I will try to directly go into his repository. So right. Yeah, we would have to visit his YouTube channel and all. I don't know why I feel like, you know, I'm going
Are
to
you ready to kickstart your journey
mute
towards
it.
a high earning career?
You. We are going to try and make some changes to this. Okay, we are going to try and understand the code of this entire project, and we are going to try not the entire project, but the parts which are relevant to us and we can understand. Like, obviously we need to understand the entire project at the end. It is not that big, and for the starters, for the initial time, for the first time, it is going to be a sufficiently good project to understand and edit. Okay, and then later on we will move on to much more complex project than this is not much complex, but it is good enough for a beginner, for good enough for a beginner like me. Okay, and also we save us some pain, and not like we save us some pain not writing some, we save us some pain not writing a lot of boilerplate code in order to mention a resume, sorry, in order to mention a project on a resume that sophisticated. Anyways, so as usual, this is a friend zone, a full stack real time messaging chat application. We are going to change the name of it. Okay, we are not going to take friend zone name. We are going to obviously name it something such as next note or pager, as I have mentioned earlier. Okay, a project to learn full stack model made by Josh. Okay, real time messaging, yeah, responsive tailwind, blah, know all of that. Okay, adding metadata to some pages and adding things that I have forgot in the video, adding metadata to some pages and adding a fab icons. ठीक है, हो जाएगा. Acknowledgement, awesome button UI component. ठीक है, awesome button UI component. फिर उसके बाद so what we need to do is that if you have any feedback, please reach out to me at admin at wonderful AI. ठीक है, nothing to read about it. ठीक है, अरे भाई रुक जाओ यार, आज तो बहुत ज्यादा हो रहा है यार. क्यों हो रहा है, मुझे बहुत ज्यादा. I'll be here in 5 minutes. पता नहीं ये क्या हो गया, एसी तक नहीं चला रहा भाई, इतनी टॉयलेट आ रही है, इतनी मुंह आ रही है। Anyways, so did we have any concurrent viewer? No, कोई बात नहीं. Let's just. हाँ तो भाई, सी, तो as usual as any project we do have the like in any Next.js project we have generally the src directory containing all the relevant code related to the project. These all things that is tailwind.j tail tsconfig.json, ye tailwind.config.json, we don't have anything to do with it. Okay, these files are usually auto generated or usually configuration files where we tweak something in order to have some effect on the project, but this do not have anything to do with the core logic of the project. Okay, the coding logic of the project, coding part of the project, this do not have anything to do with that. They do have some relation, like they are a configuration file obviously, so they are going to have some major impact on the project, but you do not generally have to touch them simply. ठीक है, तो we go inside the src folder again. The guy has made an app folder inside. So tailwind has usually options in order to make either uh, in order to either directly place everything inside the src folder or make an app directory separately. Okay, so we have this app directory, and inside it this is going to be the root of our folder. Okay, so as you all know, Next.js is using file based routing, so this app directory is going to be our root of the folder, and this page.tsx is going to be the entry point of our application. Okay, in this case layout.tsx is going to render the page.tsx for now. So the children component here, which we have passed as a prop, is going to be our home page.tsx. Okay, and inside page.tsx, as you can see, we do not have much. Okay, we have a button component, a custom button component which he has made in the UI. Okay, um, it is not a ShatCN component. He has added something to it as far as I know. And then this is sign out imported from next auth react. So you do not have to, you know, you do not have to be, let's say, uh, you do not have to be afraid of this. You do not have to be overwhelmed from this. What is this next auth react? Probably next auth react is going to be some library or some framework or some anything like that. Okay, some module. Okay, but we have to check for it if it is a module or not. It seems like that it is not a module because, sorry, it seems like that it is not a file because we do not have anything. Like if you would look at the, just do this, एक minute. This is the this is the app directory. Okay, you do not have anything, any folder named as next auth which has a react inside of it. Okay, so obviously it's not a library or framework. Okay, sorry, it's not a folder. हाँ तो ठीक है, मैं क्या बोल रहा था, it's not a folder obviously. ठीक है, तो it is a library indeed, है ना. तो next auth is going to be a next auth is going to be some library or module. ठीक है, library module जो बोल रहा है तुमको बोल लो. So now what we need to do is that we need to study next auth. We have to look into the basics of next auth before moving into anything. ठीक है, next auth क्या है? Next auth ये है. ठीक है, we go to the documentation introducing nextauth. Nextauth.js is a complete open source authentication solution for Next.js application. It is designed for It is designed from the ground up to support Next.js and serverless, ठीक है. फिर उसके बाद check out the example code and see how easy it is to use next auth or authentication. फिर उसके बाद flexible and easy to use, ठीक है. तो इससे अपन को आइडिया लग गया. This gives us the simple idea that next auth is basically some library that implements an authentication in the Next.js project, ठीक है, Next.js application, ठीक है. Now creating your own authentication is usually cumbersome. Cumbersome ही होता है ना. Cumber यार, सॉरी यार भाई, सॉरी यार, cumbersome. Cumbersome. हाँ. Unwieldy, unmanageable and awkward, ठीक है. Using authentication by yourself, sorry, making an authentication system that does everything safely by yourself is usually cumbersome, ठीक है. So what we do is that we import an authentication system or at least a library that handles it, ठीक है, और फ्रेमवर्क दैट handles it. जो भी है, लाइब्रेरी है ये एक तरीके से, ठीक है. फ्रेमवर्क नहीं होता, ये लाइब्रेरी है, ठीक है. whenever you are importing something into a framework, first of all you cannot use two framework together. You can, maybe I'm wrong, but you're not using another framework inside a framework. You're using a library inside a framework, ठीक है. तो next auth is basically a library. तो यहाँ पे जाते हैं तो गेटिंग स्टार्टेड में जाओ. गेटिंग स्टार्टेड में यू गेट टू सी दैट npm नेक्स्ट ऑथ इंस्टॉल ऐसे करके इंस्टॉल होता है. यू इम्पोर्ट नेक्स्ट ऑथ फ्रॉम द नेक्स्ट ऑथ, ठीक है, एंड देन गिटहब प्रोवाइडर फ्रॉम द provider. Here the provider is basically some context that has been already created and now it is going to be applied over the root of the application. So you can pass that context with regardless of the uh, hierarchy of the components. So yeah, it's basically avoiding prompting, ठीक है. तो um, so GitHub provider, context from providers and GitHub. बेसिकली क्या हो रहा है भाई यहाँ पे कि वी टेक अ प्रोवाइडर, ठीक है, ऑथ ऑप्शंस प्रोवाइडर्स गिटहब प्रोवाइडर. प्रोवाइडर्स में जाके गिटहब प्रोवाइडर्स में जाके एंड व्हाट वी डू, दिस दिस क्लास, दिस गिटहब प्रोवाइडर क्लास, ठीक है. तो what it is trying to do is that it imported next auth from this, ठीक है. फिर उसके बाद it says कि भैया create an object, inside this object there must be uh, array known as providers, ठीक है. This providers array must contain the provider from GitHub. So ये वाला thing, this GitHub provider is basically a class whom which we are. No, actually not. Um, this is not a class. This is data provider client. Whenever we have to initialize a class, it will have to be, ठीक है. I got it easy actually. I'll have to check with chat GPT. ऐसे बेसिक डाउट आते रहते हैं, तो क्या करो, chat GPT में जाओ और पूछो कि what is GitHub provider? Is this a class or function? As long as I can tell, it is a function, but are you allowed to name function with capital letters and JavaScript? I don't know. The GitHub provider is a function moved by the next source library and ठीक है. Is it allowed to have capital yes, it is allowed to have a capital letter function in JavaScript, but I still do want to know that how it is allowed to do usually. Okay? In JS, how can I know that it is just when starting from a capital letter? In many programming languages, including JavaScript, which is commonly used in Next.js, the convention is that the function and the class starts with the capital letter. However, there are some differences between them. The function blocks are reusable code class. ठीक है instances. And convention is the context and purpose of the code. In many why is it how can I know that this is a yeah, that's the accurate question. ठीक है? Look at the examine code for look at the documentation with the paper and the provider and the documentation that we should whether it is optional or it is optional. Will be treated as a component in its yes since it starts from capital letter. Certainly, I apologize, Anika. Considering you are correct that the convention of the starting of capital letter indicates that the component is next to JS. Yeah. So basically, we know the rule that if a function starts from a capital letter, it is basically a component. Here, what we are doing is that we are passing the props, that is client ID, environment ID, this and client secret, and we are providing it as providers. Okay. Now, what happens is that we are passing this auth options to the next auth, and now in the page.tsx, what happens is that we get the session provider and we pass it as here in the session provider, and page props क्या होता है I don't know. Page props session page props ये सब क्या होता पता नहीं. Would have to look into that later, है ना. और यहाँ पे क्या आता है, यहाँ पे sign out and sign in function. ठीक है, we already have the sign in, sign out and use session function from the next auth react. ठीक है, we passed next auth. ठीक है, we passed export default next auth options. ठीक है, and we are going to take next auth from here. We are going to take the next auth function from here. Export default next auth. But the problem is next auth is a function. Next auth is a function. We passed it auth options. It's going to return something as default. and what it is, I don't know. How it is done, how it is done, let's be honest, how it is done, I don't know. We might have defined the next auth somewhere in the code, as soon as we do in next auth from the next auth, okay, and we should have passed the next auth simply, but we are passing some auth options inside it, and then we are passing next auth. So are we intending to pass the object from the next auth, or are we intending to pass the next auth simply? I need to copy this code and just paste it over ChatGPT to understand that. Okay, I think I would have to stop the live here because I need to go to lunch. I need to go for the lunch at home. Okay, so this is going to be. I'm going to continue the slide live later in the night. Okay, I have time in the evening. Okay, so let's end the stream. Oh.